Hello and welcome back to your therapy guide. I'm Dr. Yadegarfard. Have you ever had a challenging phone call you needed to make and you found yourself suddenly needing to clean your entire house or recognize your wardrobe just to put it off? Or maybe you skipped the social events because the thought of a small talk felt too overwhelming? The cycle of temporary relief followed by creeping dread is our topic today. When faced with stress or fear, we all resort to one of the two fundamental coping paths, avoidance or exposure. Understanding which path you take and why is one of the most powerful steps you can make in your therapy journey. To understand these responses, we first have to look at your body's deep natural defense system, the famous fight, flight, or freeze response. Avoidance is essentially your brain choosing the flight path. It wants to run away. Exposure, conversely, requires choosing to fight or confront the challenge. It's vital to recognize that neither of these responses is inherently good or bad. They are not moral failings. These are powerful automatic survival mechanisms that were shaped by genetics, trauma, early life experiences, and parenting style. However, in modern life, these default responses often become unhelpful, leaving us stuck. In therapy, the core goal is to take control back. We don't want to go with the default response. In a situation where it's not working, we need to develop a new, more measured and healthy response. Let's start with the path of avoidance. This is the coping strategy of choice for your brain in the short term. When you feel anxious about a situation, whether it's a difficult conversation, a work task, or a social gathering, your brain sends a signal: run. If you successfully avoid the situation, you get an immediate powerful reward. The anxiety goes down. This immediate relief is why avoidance feels so good and is why we keep doing it. But here is the trap. In the long term, avoidance works like a snowball rolling downhill. Every time you avoid the situation, you send a clear, powerful message to your brain. That situation must be truly dangerous. The fear doesn't actually go away. It just grows bigger and stronger, ready for the next time. If you avoid social gathering, your social anxiety gets worse. If you avoid opening your bills, for example, your financial anxiety increases. Avoidance is essentially trading your long-term well-being for a brief moment of short-term comfort. Now, let's look at the path of exposure. Exposure is the opposite of avoidance, and it is the key to overcoming anxiety and fear. It involves deliberately yet gradually confronting the source of your stress or fear. Let me be clear, exposure is uncomfortable. In the short term, it often feels worse than avoidance. You will feel that anxiety spike, but there is the therapeutic magic. When you face a feared situation and nothing catastrophic happens, your brain learns a new powerful lesson. We call this habituation or simply getting used to it. Think of it like this. If you're afraid of public speaking and you avoid it, your brain assumes it's a mortal threat. If you give a short 5 minutes presentation, your anxiety will peak, but then it will naturally fade away because you survived. The more you repeat this, the more your brain learns that the initial fear was a false alarm. You are teaching yourself that you have the skills to handle the discomfort and that the feared outcome is highly unlikely. The key to successful exposure is that it must be gradual. We don't throw you into the deep end. We use a concept often referred to as a fear ladder or hierarchy. If you're ultimate goal, for example, is to give a big presentation. The first step might just be practicing your speech alone in a room, then presenting it to one trusted friend, and so on. So as you go through your day, I want you to start noticing your own response patterns. Understanding your response is the first step toward choosing a new, more helpful path. When a moment of stress or worry comes up, do you lean toward procrastination, distraction, or just walking away? That's automatic avoidance. Or do you take a deep breath, use a coping skill, and take a small, deliberate step toward the uncomfortable task? In therapy, our work is not to eliminate stress, but to help you move from unconscious, reflexive avoidance to conscious, deliberate, and flexible coping. Sometimes that chosen strategy is exposure, facing the fear to allow for habituation. But sometimes the most skilled and healthy choice is a form of conscious avoidance, such as using grounding techniques to intentionally interrupts a panic spiral, deliberately distracting yourself from a cycle of negative worry. The goal is always to move from the automatic default to a chosen helpful strategy that serves your long-term well-being. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Your Therapy Guide. I encourage you to simply notice your own patterns this week. Don't judge them, just observe them. That observation is the courageous first step toward change. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and follow me on my social media channels so you don't miss any future episode. You can find all the links in the show notes. Until next time, take care.